we are back with another episode of 11/5 Issues Live. That's 11/5 for November 5th, Election Day, so make sure you've marked your calendar. Voting has actually already started, so if you're not going to be able to make it on the 5th, please make sure you go out. All the dates and information are posted on our website. Throughout this video, feel free to engage, comment, ask questions, and we'll be happy to converse with you. You might remember several weeks back, we had our episode School Board Say What, where we went over how you can participate and a little bit of an overview of the school board. Today we're going to focus a little bit more specifically on the budget. So the money that makes the whole thing run. A budget in general is a statement of priorities and values for any school system or jurisdiction. And so when we look at the Fairfax County budget, we can get a better sense of where we've put our, where we assign our priorities for this school system. In general, so Fairfax County's budget is $3 billion. That's more money than 40 different countries' entire budget. And so it's critically important for us to pay attention to this race. About 71% of that money actually comes from the county directly. It's about half of their budget. And 16.5% come directly from the state. So it's, again, important for us to pay attention to how the money is flowing and where it's coming from to ensure that we have funds allocated to the priorities we need. The school board, what does it use that money for? So the first thing is the strategic plan that the school board sets throughout the year, and every year they come up with one. The school board also sets something called the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, where they decide, facilities, renovations, what's going on with our actual physical structures and buildings. And then, of course, there's the bond. So the bond will actually be on the ballot this year. The bond is a way for the school board to request funding from the community or approval for funding over an extended period of time, so many years. So be sure to look out for that on the ballot. It'll be on the back. So part of the strategic plan is for the school board to go through this process they call Ignite, which they actually have enhanced and improved on just over this past year. And that sets them on a timeline where in November, the superintendent begins to propose a budget that he ends up presenting to the school board in January. And from January all the way through May is a conversation between the community and the school board. What are the things we want to see cut? What are the things we want to see added to? And the school board finally gets to approve that budget in May. Of course, that budget is focused on ensuring that the 4 strategic objectives of the school system are met. Student achievement, a care and culture, supporting a premier workforce, so making sure that we have the best and most talented teachers and staff here, and of course, resource stewardship. So when we think about those goals that the school board sets, of course, making sure that capacity issues are addressed way in advance is just one of the things that the school board will consider. I highly encourage you to look into the Budget at a Glance document that FCPS puts out every year, because it's a great way to get to know visually where our money goes and how we set our priorities. So in terms of looking ahead, how can we improve? What are some of the areas that we can do better? The first would be zero-based budgeting. So for many years, our budget has primarily been tweaks. When the superintendent presents that budget in January, that conversation with the community can be such that we look at it more rigorously. Zero-based budgeting is generally a best practice for major corporations and organizations as big as our school system. And it's good because it allows us to be future-oriented while cutting waste. So we're able to put that money really behind the programs that we want to innovate with and potentially cut back on things that might be outdated. A second thing we can look at is moving our funding structure to be a student-weighted one. So from being a staffing-based model, which is typical in many of the older education structures that exist in this county, such that we look at enrollment numbers and then we do it by staffing. Instead, what we can do is look at the needs that exist in each community to make sure that we're outcome-driven and that we're thinking about ways we can support everyone. So what that does is it puts us on track to meet the requirements of ESSA, which is Every Student Succeeds Act that came under the Obama administration, which is going to require us this year to start reporting per pupil funding to see how much do we pay for each one of our students in Fairfax County. And it's also what's being done by most of the major jurisdictions across this country, like the New York school system, Boston, Chicago, Houston, and other comparable school divisions. So we want to make sure that we're up to date on that. And it's really just the direction of where education policy is headed to make sure that we're addressing, again, we're channeling funding through based on need and not just enrollment or numbers that don't really project where money should or is best spent. So what that'll do is we'll have our funding not only be about base funds, which are supplies of every year, not only based on facilities, which is just a general expense that comes every year, but equity as well. So we'll have the opportunity to factor in those kinds of student outcomes. A third way we can improve on our budget is updating our technology. So when we're better able to present information and synthesize that information and utilize the tools to make it more accessible, we're better able to efficiently utilize our funds and really target those places where there may be waste and identify them in advance. And finally, better transparency. When we're able to have data structures within our school system that communicate to the community what is going on and what we're actually doing with our funds, we're better accountable to you and you're better able to hold us accountable so that we achieve better outcomes for everyone. So that's just a little bit about the budget. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I would love to talk to you more about it. I know it can be a really complicated subject, but hopefully we broke it down for you just a little bit today. So tune in next time on 11.5 Issues Live. We'll see you soon.